Well, hello, and thank you everybody for joining us today at our Lunch and Learn about exploring future Panasonic migration paths. I'm Mike Meldrum. I'm CEO with Complete Interactive Technologies, and I've been a partner with Panasonic for the last 30 years. I also have joining me today Kevin Murphy. He's a regional sales manager with Zoltis. He's going to be going through our presentation and exploring our Panasonic migration paths. But first off, let me let you know that your Panasonic system is not going to stop working tomorrow. But with Panasonic's announcement about discontinuing global telecommunication sales, we felt the need to let you know that you have options. If you're currently enrolled in our CTAP or our CTAP Lite program, you're going to be okay. You're protected, and we're going to be here to support you just like we have for all these past years. Now, some house cleaning before we begin. We will be recording this session, and it will be available on our website next week. We have everyone muted during the Lunch and Learn, but if you have any questions, please use the Zoom chat, and Gabriel and John will be responding to those messages. You can also feel free to email us at sales@cit-foryou.com. And we will be reaching out to everyone on this call today directly over the next few weeks to just discuss any additional questions that you may have or any concerns that you might have. So finally, I want to let everybody know who's on the call today, you'll be receiving a $25 Grubhub lunch gift over the next week. And we apologize that we couldn't have lunch for you ready today, but that's how the Zoom world works. So once again, I thank everybody for joining us today. And at this point, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Kevin Murphy. Kevin, appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. We've got this presentation. I promise that I won't kill you with slides. I think it might be 13, 14 slides, something like that, including this welcome slide and a thank you slide. So again, promise not to kill you with slides. This next slide talks about the agenda. We're going to be a little bit loose, but I want to make sure that we talk about the value proposition that Zoltis provides, multiple formats that Zoltis has, some built-in redundancy that I think will be important to you. We'll talk a little bit about our data center infrastructure and a little bit about how Zoltis is just easy to work with. So that's kind of my focus for this presentation. And by the way, we will also break away and show you a live demonstration of our system, my actual system that I'm using here at Zoltis. So that's me, just so you know who the heck you're talking to or who's talking to you. Been in this business for a long time. I'm actually based, so Zoltis is based in, our headquarters is in Sunnyvale, California. I work out of my home office here in Novi, Michigan. So I'm not too far from Mike and his team. So I like this slide because it talks about the history of telecom. So I find it kind of interesting. It might be a geeky industry thing, but 1970 is when the PBX, Public Business Exchange kind of phone system was brought onto the market. Prior to that, prior to 1970, some of you might recall yourselves or recall seeing in a movie the operator sitting in front of a switchboard and pulling cables out of one port and pushing a cable into another port. And that's how calls were answered and transferred and processed. So a lot of course, progress since then. Virtual PBX was created in '97. We started hosting just about that time, maybe a year early as an industry. Zoltis was launched in 2001, as you can see in the right-hand side of this graph. And just one little maybe interesting tip or piece of information about Zoltis launching was that we had to, our creators, our engineers had to decide on a format. And they chose to go with SIP, which is stands for Session Initiated Protocol. So it was a little bit of a guess. It was absolutely a guess, but it was an educated guess. And they guessed right, because SIP then was ratified in 2002, just about a year later. So it was a great decision. We're built from the ground up as a SIP provider. We like to refer to ourselves as SIP to the core, where a lot of our competitors had to kind of think about SIP after the fact, maybe even shoehorn in the SIP features because that's not the way they were, their system was created. So this value proposition slide, our marketing team reached out to our customers and kind of asked them, what do you love about Xultus? Why do you stick with Xultus? What are you, why did you start with us in the first place? And these are some of the answers that we received. I'm certainly not going to cover all of them, but let me hit on maybe two, including that very first one. We're really proud of the fact that Xultus is easy. Now you'll see, hopefully, that we've got a lot of features, a lot of options, a lot of cool things that you can use, a lot of collaboration, but throughout all of that, it's still just easy to use, easy to learn, easy to implement. And again, we're really proud of that. Skipping down to the second thing that I like to point out about why our customers love us is reliability. The fact that it's just a super reliable system. And there's really two reasons for that. Instance-based deployment. For our hosted customers, everyone, and this is a differentiator, kind of separates us from our competitors. Every customer gets their own independent instance. And that's good for security, it's good for flexibility, and it just gives our large customers and our small customers the benefit of having their own instance to do with what they want, add releases when they need them, have maintenance windows when it works for them, that kind of thing. So very important, I think, to have that independent instance per customer. And the second thing, as you can see there, is we have redundant data centers. We have a very impressive data center infrastructure. So our main data center is Boston. Inside of that data center, we've got tons of production servers. Then we've got a complete set of duplicate backup servers. All of those servers are being monitored 24/7 by our engineering team. And then we have a complete duplicate of that data center on the other side of the country, just outside of Denver, Colorado. That data center, because it's, like I said, completely duplicate, it has all of that redundancy built in as well. And then the last point that I'll say about that is we test failover from one to the other. So it's not just theoretical, we actually test failover, and it takes a little bit less than a minute or so to do that failover. And again, it's tested, so we know that it works. It's not just theoretical. So with the Xultus system, we've got 3 different types of users. So I always like to point out, I'm going to show you a lot of features, and I hope you like them. And we usually get a lot of oohs and ahs about our features, and we're really proud of them. But please know that you can use this as just a regular phone system where you pick up the handset, answer a call, hang up the handset to terminate the call. You can take advantage of as many or as few of the features that you're going to see as you want. It's very flexible that way. So this first of 3 users is the standard user. And I list all of the cool things about our standard user. And I think it's really important to point out that with our standard user, you can do all of the things that you would expect from a high quality phone system, like make calls, receive calls, transfer calls, forward calls. It's got integrated voicemail. It's got music on hold, messages on hold, commercials on hold. All of those things included with our standard user, along with, like every user on our system, the standard user has MX Mobile. That's our mobile application. It runs on Android phones and tablets. It runs on iOS or Apple phones and tablets. So with our MX Mobile or our mobile software, you can make and receive business calls right there on your cell phone without ever compromising your personal cell phone number. So we think that's a big deal. So the second of the 3 user types is premium user. And of course, the premium user has all of the features that the standard user has, and it's got a whole lot more, including what the industry refers to as unified communications. Our unified communications we refer to as ZAC, and I'll try not to throw too many acronyms at you, but ZAC is an acronym. It stands for Zultus Advanced Communicator, and it is the Zultus Unified Communications Client. I'm going to break away in a moment and show you that, but let's just go and take a peek at this third user type, and that is contact center or call center user. So the call center or contact center is our third user type. And when I break away and I show you some of the premium user functionality, I'll also be able to show you some of this contact center functionality as well. So I just wanted to kind of point out that this is that third user type. And kind of in summary for the contact center user, it's that situation where there's a lot of incoming calls, maybe a lot of outgoing calls, and it's that supervisor agent relationship where the supervisor can monitor calls, maybe even whisper, page, or barge in. Calls are recorded, can be recorded automatically. All of those functionality, automated callback, lots of features inside of the contact center. So let's break away, and I'll actually show you, like I said, our live system. And it's what we're running here. As soon as I can get my menu to slide out of the way. It's what we're running here at Zultus. Again, like I said, we call it ZAC, stands for Zultus Advanced Communicator, and that is what we're looking at right now. So it's unified communications. It's software that runs on your laptop, your computer, your desktop, your Mac, and that software integrates with the phone system and integrates with the physical phone on your desk. Couple things about unified communications, especially with Zultus, is up here we've got what the industry refers to as presence. So presence is just a great way to let your coworkers know what your situation is relative to the phone system. More specifically, what's your situation relative to being able to make and receive calls. So I clicked on here. I'm going to click outside of it for a moment. I'm going to click back on it, and you can see our presence options. Available, not available, busy, at lunch, in a meeting, be right back if you're offline. So available, green for go, I can make and receive calls, I'm good to go. Or I'm not. And the reason I can't make or receive calls is because I'm just not available, or because I'm busy, or I can be more specific and say that I'm at lunch, or I'm in a meeting, or I just want to appear offline. Now, I mentioned that I wanted to point out differentiators for Zultus, especially. Notice this note. I actually can put in a note. So not only am I in a meeting, but I can put in a note that I'm on a lunch and learn with you guys. So now my coworkers, let's see where I'm represented here. My coworkers can not only see that I'm in a meeting, but they can see that I'm in a lunch and learn with Mike and his team and all of you guys. So that can be very helpful. So as we kind of scroll down here, you can see, I can see all of my coworkers who's available. Looks like Suzanne is in a demo. Lena is in a meeting. Lenny Bachman is out of the office this week. So it's just helpful, we think, to be able to share your presence status with coworkers. So that's the idea there. I'm going to skip to the bottom of this screen and talk a little bit about soft phone and some other functionality. So with our unified communication software, with ZAC, we can bind to a soft phone. So in other words, if I'm bound to a soft phone, I don't need a physical phone on my desk. I can simply plug a headset into my laptop, bind to my soft phone, and now I'm making and receiving calls right there from my headset plugged into my laptop. So that's one of the functions of this section down here. We call it binding. So I can bind a soft phone. I can also bind to any valid phone or phone number in the world. One great example of that is if you happen to have multiple offices. You might work at office A 99% of the time, but today you're at office B. In the old days, you'd have to send out a memo. Hey, everybody, I'm going to be at office B today. You can reach me at, this extension, but remember, it's only for today. I'll be back at my regular extension tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. With Zultus and with this functionality that I'm pointing to down here in the bottom left-hand corner, we can actually bind to that phone that we're sitting in front of at office B in my scenario. I bind to that. Now people can call my regular extension that they call every day, and they'll still get to me because I am bound to that phone that I'm temporarily at. Outsiders, if I have a direct phone number, outsiders can call my direct phone number, and it will get me at this phone number that I happen to be sitting at temporarily today. So we think that this binding functionality, more importantly, we're told by our customers that this binding functionality is really, really important and helps them be more productive almost from day one. So let me hit on some other features. And again, it's very feature rich, but please don't forget the fact that you can just pick up your handset and make a call and hang up your handset to end a call. So you don't have to take advantage of these features, but we want you to know that they're there in case you ever need them. So one of the things you can see on the left-hand side of my screen, I've got a recent icon. I've got several icons. Let's click on recent. So I can see all of my incoming and outgoing calls and messages. I'm going to highlight calls. You can see that Tim called me earlier today. If I wanted to call Tim back, I wouldn't have to look up his number. I wouldn't have to put in the digits. All I would have to do is click on this receiver and it calls, it would make that call out to Tim. So this person called me, same thing. I can scroll through if I wanted to find someone that called me yesterday or the day before or earlier in the week or last month. And I have access to that information. And all I need to do is click on the receiver and I'll call that person back. We can take that a little bit further, and I just want to touch on it. I can click on call log, and now you can see we're taking advantage of the right-hand side of my ZAC screen, and I see the database from my call log. So it might not be important to you, but just know that you can see whether the call was incoming or outgoing, the date and time that it came in, the name of the person, the phone number, and the duration. So it might be worthwhile to have access to all of this information. I just like to point out that you do have access if you ever need it. I'm going to skip buddies and groups for a minute and voicemail and go down to contacts. Please know that Zoltis is, the Zoltis system is fully integrated with Outlook and Exchange Office 365. So you have lots of benefits because it's fully integrated. One is that your address book can automatically be ported over and become part of your Zoltis system and software. You don't have to port over your addresses, but you certainly can. And that's one of the features we think are important. And then based on that integration with Outlook and Exchange and Office 365, I'll show you some of the additional features beyond the fact that you can automatically import your addresses. Let's go back to buddies. So my buddies list is a subset of my address book. My buddies list can be fellow coworkers. It can be vendors, customers, relatives, it can be any kind of group inside or outside of my phone system, and certainly a combination of both. So when we're looking at my buddies list, you can see that I've got a lot of coworkers here, but I also have customers on this list. Or basically, it's just my buddies list is just a group of folks that I interact with the most. So I created a buddies list for them just to make it easy for me to access them. So let's start with Tricia. I'm going to click on Tricia. Now on the right-hand side of the screen, my database that I showed you earlier from recent calls goes away. Now we see the interaction that I've had with Tricia recently. So Tricia is our inside sales manager. I'm going to scroll up and you can kind of get a feel of our conversations, things that files that we've shared back and forth and comments and that kind of thing. But let me be more specific. And down here where the cursor is flashing, I can actually send Tricia or anyone in my list an instant message. And no, I cannot type and talk at the same time. So hang in there with me. So, hello, Tricia is not the most in-depth message that one would ever send, but it might be something like, hey, Mike, you're 12:30 arrived early. What would you like me to do? And then Mike can continue with this conversation, but still respond and say, and notice that Tricia is typing. The system's smart enough to tell me that Tricia's typing. So Mike, in my scenario, might be able to continue his conversation and say, okay, that's great. Just put him in the conference room and I'll be right there. So instant messaging is just a great way to communicate, maybe even while you're on the phone. So Tricia responded with hi. Now, notice this paperclip. as part of our collaboration, and we do a lot of collaborating with, I can send Tricia a file, or anyone on my list. Got something that says fit after 50. Don't know what that is, but I'm going to send it over to Tricia. Hopefully she's not insulted by that. But the point is we can share files back and forth. So if we're collaborating on a project, I might send her a file to tweak. She might send it back to me to tweak, and we can collaborate that way. So, instant message from here, also sharing files back and forth from here are two of the features that I wanted to share with you. Now, let's talk about some additional features. Up here on the right-hand corner, we've got a receiver icon. You've seen that before. If I wanted to call Tricia, all I would have to do is click on that receiver and it would call her. But let's take a look at this. With the Zolta system, we can have a video call. So if I was to click on this video camera icon, it would initiate a video call with Tricia. And now we can have that video call back and forth and continue our collaboration. Next icon is the ability to screen share. So I've mentioned collaboration several times. Oftentimes people are collaborating on a particular project, a particular file, a particular spreadsheet or Word doc. So I could screen share with Tricia and actually have the screen up, or the file up on my screen, and we can review it together. She can screen share with me. She can have it up on her screen and we can review it together. So calling, video calls, screen sharing, all part of our collaboration, all part of the available features on the Zolta system. I'm going to stop for a minute just because I worry. Mike, everything okay? My audio okay? We on the right track?
You sound great, Kevin.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for putting up with that question. Next icon here is this ellipsis that gives me more options. So I'm going to skip info for a minute. I'm going to go down to active calls. So I guess you can see that I can look at our recent files that we've sent back and forth. I can look at recent calls that we've made back and forth. But take a look at this, active calls. Now, I don't have the authority to review or monitor Tricia's calls, but this is exactly where I would do it. First of all, she's not on a call, she's available. If she was on the phone, it would literally say on the phone and the icon would change. But if she was on the phone, I could go here if I had the authority as her supervisor and monitor the call. I could whisper Paige, hey, Tricia, don't forget to tell them about the demo up next week, whatever it is, or I could barge in. So as a supervisor, all of those things are available, and I can do that right here from this section of the Zack screen. Now I'm going to click on the ellipsis one more time and click on info, and that is Tricia. But now, more importantly, notice that I can be more specific about calls. So when I click up here to call her, it's simply going to call her extension, which is fine. But if I wanted to call her mobile, I can do that from here. If I wanted to call her home phone, I can do that from here. If I wanted to send her an email, I could do that from here. Now notice this enable presence alert. I'm going to actually show you how that works on somebody else's in a minute. And if I wanted to remove her from buddies, I could do that. So all of that functionality is available as part of the Zolta system. So a couple more features I just want to touch on, and that is, so all of those things that you just saw that I can, all of those features that are available to do with Tricia as one of my coworkers, I can do with anyone in the world that has internet access. So now it really opens up all kinds of options as far as video calls and or screen sharing, with your vendor, with the pizza place down the street about a lunch menu, with customers, anybody now, you can have these features available to you and to them, and they don't have to just be your coworker. They could be anyone out there in the world, as long as they have internet access. So that's a recent development in our software that we're just super excited about. A couple other things. We have what we call screen dial. Let me see what, so I have Mike and his team, I have their website up. With the Zalta system, you can go anywhere. And as long as you can get to a phone number and highlight it, like I'm doing here for Mike's number, I can, with the Zalta system, press Control F12, and the system will dial that phone number. We call it screen dial. And we're told that it's super handy, not as much saving the keystrokes, which you save keystrokes, but for the accuracy, especially if you've got a lot of people making calls and they're kind of taking the numbers out of a spreadsheet or a Word doc. They're accurate 100% of the time if they do a screen dial like this. Whereas it's just human nature to fat finger a number or that kind of thing if they're pressing those numbers in by hand. So just wanted to point that out, that screen dial is another feature of the Zalta system. Working my way down this, and I'm checking my watch, but working my way down this list of icons, I just want to hit on some of these. So groups, we have group collaboration. So I just talked a lot about collaborating with one person. We can also do collaborations with a group. So lots of people in this group. I could, and the one thing I just want to point out to you, because I think this is a very cool feature, I can press a button and start an audio conference. So you can imagine collaborating with these 4 or 5 people, screen sharing, doing a lot of collaboration, and sooner or later, it's just time to get on the phone and talk to each other. So the Zalta system is smart enough, if I click this button, it will call all of the participants of this particular collaboration group and invite them to get on a conference call, and we can all join. So I just like to point that out. Let's skip down to voicemail. Like I said earlier, we've got integrated voicemail. It's part of the system. I tend to hold on to voicemails a long time. I swear all of these people have been responded to, but I like to keep them. This first one that I have here, let me show you a couple things about it. One is, if I wanted to play this voicemail, I simply click on this play button. Kind of easy. I can mark this as read or unread. I can see that it's 48 seconds long. I can see that it came in at 5:23 yesterday. I can see that it came in from this phone number. Now, if I click on this ellipsis, it gives me some additional options. I can call this person back. I can forward it to someone else. I can, again, mark it as read or unread. I can delete it. And maybe the coolest thing is I can save it to my PC if I wanted to keep that voicemail for some future reason, or maybe tie it to a file, that kind of thing. So all of that's available. And then as you see here, we support voicemail transcriptions. So this is the transcription of the message that Jeff left me yesterday at 5:23. So the Zalta system will transcribe those voicemails for you. So I just wanted to point that out as well. Now, so I'm in my voicemail icon. One of the directories, folders, is recordings. So I just wanted to point out that the Zalta system has the ability to record calls. So I don't know if it's something you're interested in. We could certainly spend more time talking about it at some future date, but my message in this presentation is for you to know that the Zalta system does a fantastic job of recording calls. And it does it in 2 ways. You can record all calls, and by all calls, I mean you can record all calls for a particular extension. You could record all calls for the entire organization and kind of everything in between. Or you can do ad hoc recording, where you can, be on a call and say, you know what, this is the type of call I better be recording. So you click the record button. And the thing that Zalta does differently than everybody else is when you do that in the middle of your call, 5 minutes in, 10 minutes in, an hour and a half in, the system is smart enough to go back to the very beginning and record from that first second, that first moment that you started to talk, record the entire conversation, and then continue to record until you hang up. So we love that feature. Our customers love that feature, and the big deal there, of course, is that you don't know that you need to record until something happens, and it doesn't have to be negative. Maybe they're just giving you a lot of instruction or a lot of information and you're making notes and it's hard to keep up. And it's like, nope, this is time. I need to record this so I can refer back to it. So recording is a big deal and part of the Zolta system. Additional license, but it's part of the Zolta system. We talked about context a little bit. We've got all kinds of search capability, by the way, so I can search by first name. The system is smart enough. If I put in search criteria, it will automatically search by first name, last name, and phone number. So just to give you an example, by that is Justin is our vice president. So I can put J-U-S, but his last name is Bush. So I can put in B-U, and Justin's part of that criteria that comes up as far as BU. I also know that his phone number starts with 773. So again, the system is smart enough to search throughout the whole database based on the criteria or the search information that you're giving. All right, skipping down there, and I know you guys are muted, but I normally ask everybody if they ever use faxing anymore. And it's still surprising to me that a lot of people still use faxing and some people still use it a lot. So just know that as part of this, as part of ZAC, you have the ability to send and receive faxes right here from your desktop. And just to give you a quick example of how that would look. So again, I've chosen the fax icon. I could click on the send button, and now I can put in who I'm sending it to. So the system will populate Justin's information. I can choose a cover sheet if I want to. I can schedule it or send it right now. I can add a file. Here's another paperclip. You saw how that works. So I could add any file that I want to send as part of my fax. And again, the scheduling thing is kind of neat because I can send it now or schedule it to send sometime in the future, like the middle of the night, whatever. So again, the message there is just know that with the Zolta system, we can send and receive faxes right here from our desktop. Conferencing, very similar to the Zoom conference we're on right now. Zoltus has conferencing, and I'm going to click on the schedule just to give you a feel for it. Otherwise, I get nervous that I'm missing a conference call. You can put in a name. You can tell the system that this particular conference call is a one-time occurrence, or it's a recurring call. You can give it a date, a time, a duration, and you can tell the system whether we're going to do webinar and audio or just audio, and then you can save and invite. And the cool thing about this is because we're fully integrated with Outlook and Exchange, the Zolta system creates this invitation. So based on the criteria that I gave it, the system created this invitation, and now all I need to do is put in the participants and send that off. So just another example of being able to take advantage of being integrated with Outlook and Exchange. So that's how we do conferencing. And of course, we do parking. And one of the things is, in fact, let me show you, I think it makes sense right now to show you what our mobile application looks like. So the software that runs on your phone. Let's see if I can make that happen. So I'm going to just collapse this view, this mode. So it didn't go away. It just kind of takes up less real estate in this collapsed mode. And go back to buddies. And let's see, I've got access to my phone. So this is our mobile app. We think it's just very popular, very productive is really the word I was looking for. Our customers love it, and notice that it is purposefully very, very similar to our desktop application of ZAC. So if you know one, you know the other. There's not a retraining or a training curve that needs to take place. So I am going to pick up my phone and stop using my mouse for a second, except to show you at the bottom of the screen. We've got some icons. That first one is contacts. The second one is recent. So I can look at recent calls, groups, just like you saw on the ZAC screen, voicemail. And And I've got more like park and settings and that kind of thing. And notice that just like my presence on Zach, that I was in a lunch and learn with you guys, it's also represented here. And I can change it in either location, my presence I'm talking about, and it will change in the other location. So I could be driving home from work, not that we recommend you do anything while you're driving as far as your phone goes, but I could be on my way home from work and change, and remember that I forgot to change my presence, and then change it as soon as I can. I'll make that change. So you have access to these things from your mobile software and mobile software. And remember, you can make and receive these calls, these business calls, without ever compromising your personal cell phone number. So my extension 714, people call 714 and it rings on my cell phone.
Hey, Kev, let me just say something really quickly about
Sure.
this particular feature, that we had so many customers over the last year with COVID that shut down their offices, needed to work remotely, and they didn't miss a beat when it came to taking calls from their customers, even though nobody was at the office. And the ability to be able to transfer, the ability to be able to put people on hold and conference with other people. It was an incredible application, and it really kept the number of our customers going during this crazy year that we had.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. That we again, we're thankful that we got that kind of response all over the country. This really helped with COVID because of the ability to work remotely. In fact, it's interesting. Our tagline, long before COVID ever happened, the Zoltas tagline was and still is: "Work from anywhere, work from everywhere." So the fact that our end users, our customers, can work remotely is something that's been going on for a long time. So I'm just going to expand my Zach again. And Mike, I'm about to go back to the presentation to show a few more slides. Anything you'd like me to cover before I leave here? I might have forgotten.
Kevin, I thought you did a great job of everything within Zach. It's an incredible collaboration tool and UC tool for sure.
Perfect.
I think we can go right back to the presentation.
Nice, thank you. All right, so I'm going to bring that up, put it back into presentation mode. So premium user, you just saw it, right? So you saw the features that are part of the premium user. And by the way, premium to me at least makes it sound like it's way more expensive than standard, and it just isn't. It's a little bit more, but not. It's not crazy expensive. So I mentioned faxing, I mentioned conferencing, I mentioned the mobile application. I didn't mention call attached data. So let me just touch on that briefly. And again, the idea is to let you guys know what's out there, what's available in telephony today, and of course, more importantly with Zoltas. But call attached data allows the Zoltas user to put in notes about the call, about their caller. So those notes might be, the reason that they called in, and we all know that's important. If all of us have been on those customer service calls where we give everyone our information, and then we get transferred to someone else, and then we have to re-enter or restate all of that information. With Zoltas, you don't need to do that because call attached data allows those notes to be put in, and then if that call gets transferred, that person just needs to review the notes that are all there. Contact center, I know I touched on it. A couple of features just to be aware of in case you ever need a contact center. One is automatic callback. I use it, frankly, with Delta all the time. And I'm not saying Delta's on Zoltas. I just mean this feature. I love it because I fly a lot with Delta. But one of the Zoltas contact center features is automatic callback. So I can be as a caller, I can be in the queue, decide, you know what, I need to run an errand or do something, make lunch. So let's have the Zoltas operator or agent call me back. So I press the appropriate button, hang up. My request for callback stays in the queue and works its way through the queue as if I was on hold or as if I was waiting in the queue. And then when it gets to be my time to receive the call back, Zoltus does something that I think is brilliant, easy and brilliant at the same time. It connects the call with the agent first, makes that connection, everything's good to go, and then the caller that requested the callback is called and connected. And the reason that I say that's brilliant is because we've all experienced that awkward silence where the agent that's taking my call hasn't quite finished up with their last call yet, so it's quiet and I don't quite know what's going on. Zoltus eliminates that by connecting with the agent first and then calling the caller back that requested the call. And I just love that. The second thing I want to point out quickly about Contact Center, again, another feature that I just love, is similar to making those notes. And again, we talked about how oftentimes, you get transferred and that person doesn't know anything about what you just to the agent prior. One of the features with the Zoltus Contact Center is last agent routing. So you can be on a call with a Zoltus agent, with a company using the Zoltus system, and talking to that agent, getting all your questions answered, everything's good. You hang up, and dang nabbit, you had one more question. So with last agent routing, you can call back into that Zoltus system and be automatically routed to that last agent, so that you don't have to re-explain yourself. So that you can say, hey, Mike, it's Kevin. I was just talking to you about, my whatever, and I just had this one other question about that. So again, it saves the time and trouble of having to re-explain yourself or re-share that information. So some additional capabilities. We haven't talked about texting, but that first bullet point talks about the fact that the Zoltus system gives you the ability to text to any valid cell phone number in the world, which we think is pretty great. So you can text any valid cell phone in the world with the Zoltus system. We talked about call recording, call reporting. The Zoltus system comes out of the box, no extra charge, with and I'm looking up to the sky because that's how I think, 43 reports are included. I know it says 38, but 43 now reports are included out of the box at no charge. And then in addition to that, we have a reporting package that allows you to customize and do some fancy schmancy things. But just know that you get 43 reports out of the box. We're fully integrated with Salesforce Communicator. We integrate with other CRMs out there with a piece of middleware software that we call Flex Communicator. We do outbound dialer. The biggest example of that is appointment reminders, but we've got all kinds of different companies and manufacturers and utilities taking advantage of outbound dialer. One example is a water utility in Illinois using it for boil alerts. They use our outbound dialer. Again, it's a appointment reminder at its basic core, but they use it for boil alerts or to terminate the boil alert. And then we support Active Directory and LDAP authentication. Our phones, it's always interesting to see what phones are available. So we go from the 43G all the way up to the 49G, some great phones. All of the audio is wonderful. Speaker phones, the audio is so good on the speaker phones that a lot of our customers will use one of any of these models as a conference room phone in their smaller conference rooms. Again, the audio is that good. They just place the call, put it on speaker, and the audio is good coming out, and the microphone's great sending that info across, and it works out really well. So probably the biggest thing is to think about is soft keys, programmable soft keys. And there's a different array of options there across the line of phones. But I think you'll be really pleased with them. I think a lot of you are thinking about hosted, but I wanted to make sure we talked about on-premise as well. So I just threw up here some on-premise boxes. So you're covered whether you've got an on-premise box, and you can see the SE here, and then the MXE series is underneath it. Some great features built in, like 3 cooling fans, dual power supplies, hot swappable hard drives, that kind of thing. And then we have all of that's virtualized, so it can run in VMware and Hyper-V. And then we also have our hosted Xultus cloud services. And I talked or even bragged, I realize, about our in data center infrastructure and that kind of thing. So the cool thing, and maybe the most important point of all of this, is whatever the platform, whether it's hosted or on-premise or virtualized, it is exactly the same user experience, and all of the features that you saw here will apply. So there's not a difference in feature set, not a difference in user experience between any of these platforms. Here's some logos that you might be familiar with. So I'm guessing maybe you haven't heard of Xultus before, but I'm guessing that some of these logos, and I know they're a little hard to see, but some of these logos you have heard about, like Remax and Samsung, and Fox Racing and NPR, and Allstate, those places. So these are all active, happy customers on the Xultus system around the country. This just crossed my desk yesterday. I was telling Mike, asked him if he minded me throwing it in, and I admit that I'm bragging, but we just won Product of the Year with TMC Unified Communications. So we're excited about that. And back to, so thank you, of course, and back to our list of reasons why our customers chose to use Xultus in the first place and why they continue to use the Xultus system. So, Mike, let me turn it back over to you and answer any questions. Yes, sir.
I appreciate that. Hey, we did have one question, and if we could expand on it a little bit about remote VPN capability. And when you have a remote worker, you know, what type of telephone, okay, can we use for that remote worker? And then can they actually use an existing VPN that might be at this remote location to get back to, okay, in this instance, it might have to be a prem-based solution, right, to get back to headquarters. But if it was a cloud solution, it wouldn't be a need to utilize that VPN connection, because we'd actually be going to the cloud, and all we need is an internet connection for that. Maybe expand on that a little bit. I know I probably rambled there and gave most of the answer.
No, that's a great answer. So each of these phones include a session border controller. So you could, without a VPN, connect back to the system through the internet. So that's my first message, is you don't have to have a VPN. Can you use a VPN? Absolutely, but you don't have to have it. In fact, like I mentioned, I'm sitting here in Novi, Michigan, and I've got a physical phone on my desk when I'm not using a soft phone, and I connect back to our Sunnyvale phone system without a VPN. I just go through the internet, and it works really, really well. And by the way, I didn't mention this, but I just real quick, sorry, Mike. A lot of these either have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth built in, or Wi-Fi and Bluetooth are options, which is a very cool thing. So
I think that's really important too, Kev, because in a lot of houses, it's difficult, right, to in these remote locations where people have to take these phones home with them, to get a cable, right, to where they need connectivity. And with having that Wi-Fi dongle that you can just plug into the back of the telephone, it just opens it up that you can, all you need is power then for the phone.
Yeah,
and it gives you some capabilities that in the past you needed that hard cable to be able to make that remote phone work properly.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you know, we've really put the Wi-Fi to the test. And by the way, the 49G has the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth built right in. So we put that to the test, and we've actually gone to seminars and conferences around the country where you have a booth, and we have the 49G running on Wi-Fi. Not only on an audio call, but on a video call. You can see the camera at the top of that screen. And we actually have people coming up to the booth and saying, okay, this is cool. It's sounds great, looks great. What's the trick? Where's the wires? Where have you hidden the wires? And it's like, no, it's Wi-Fi. Nope, seriously. You know, been in this business a long time. Where's the wire? And the fact of the matter is, Wi-Fi is just that good, and the phone just works that well that even with a video call, where again you've got both audio and video over the Wi-Fi, it works really, really well. So, did we answer all of that question, Mike?
It did, but I think the question was asking a little bit differently.
Okay,
so
sorry.
Can you talk a little bit about MX Meeting and how that looks like a team, how it can look like a Teams call or a team viewer type collaboration with a remote user?
I think so. So let me make sure I understand the question. So you said MX Meeting, right?
Yep. How we can utilize MX Meeting to create that video call, okay, for like a team viewer or a Teams or a team viewer type login.
Sure. So with the Zolta system, we have I'm just going to pull it up real quick here. We have the ability to create a conference, and our conference is MX Meeting, and we can schedule it, and we can part of our MX Meeting is video, just like Mike said, just like we can do with Zoom calls and other products out there. But with our MX Meeting, which is again licensed but integrated into the Zolta system, you have the ability to have video, and our video can be the industry refers to it as standards based. So our video interacts with any other and I'm using air quotes that you guys can't see, any other standards based video formats out there. So just like Mike said, you can be on a conference and use in our case, the phone video, because it is standards based, to participate in that video call. You can use your MX Meeting screen and the camera that's built into your laptop if you'd like to. But I think the key there is the fact that the Zolta system, video portion of the Zolta system, is all standards based and integrates with any other standards based video conferences out there. Is that what you have in mind, Mike?
Yeah, I think that's good.
Perfect.
Excellent. Well, Kevin, I once again, I think you knocked it out of the park. You know, I've appreciated working with you these last 10 years. Zoltus has been a great partner, and you know, that's CIT has partnered with you in all of your platforms, and we've had a great partnership, and we look forward to that. So at this time, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Just want to send out a couple reminders here at the end that, you know, if you have any questions that didn't come out during the call here, please feel free to reach out to us at sales@cit-foryou.com. And again, we'll be reaching out to everyone that's on the call today directly in a few weeks. And we appreciate your attendance, and look into your email for that $25 Grubhub gift. And we look forward to talking to all of you here in the very near future. Once again, thank you, Kevin. You did an incredible job. Appreciate you being a partner with us. And thanks again to everybody on the call. Hope you all have a great day. And thanks for coming.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, everybody.